Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. You are in for a treat right now. We are back with a phenomenal discussion here on the Global Leaders Roundtable. This is the Fireside Chat edition. And listen, this platform is where voices rise, leaders converge, and kingdom movements are born. I am your host, Kenyon R. Dudley, keynote speaker, global leadership strategist, and founder of this growing global platform committed to amplifying purpose filled voices from around the world. For those of you who are just getting a chance to meet me, hello. Let me share with you my passion. It is helping leaders tap into divine identity, to build with authenticity, and to boldly step into their next season. This platform is for what I say and what I call the visionary, the reformers, the pioneers. I believe with all of my heart that breakthrough requires bold conversations. You've got to talk about it. You've got to put it on the table, and you've got to be able to discuss the matter if you're going to be able to break through to the next level and to the next dimension that God has for you. And so that's what this platform is all about. We're having discussions that matter the most with leaders that matter in various industries. It's not just leaders, particularly just from the church. We are all believers and we are all kingdom citizens. That's what I say. But we are placed and planted in different, not just parts of the world, but different industries as well. And so we are sharing our strategies and ideas and revelations. And so you get a chance to be like a fly on the wall, listening in on some of those candid and most effective conversations that we are having. If you are watching us right now on YouTube, listen, thank you so much for joining the tribe. And if you haven't, why? Subscribe today over there at TGLR Network. We have so much content that we've already loaded up on the platform over there, and so much more that we are about to share throughout the rest of this year. Listen, I know you are used to hearing this. You don't want to miss it. This is so true. You don't want to miss what God is evolving right now in the background with the Global Leaders Roundtable and the movement that it is becoming. This has come by surprise. I'm just going to be honest with you. God has always used me in various forms and speaking and all of that. But this particular platform came by surprise. I did not come into this new year with this at the forefront of my agenda, but nevertheless, not my will, right? But God's will be done. And when you surrender to God's will, I'm telling you, he'll take you places and do things with you that you could have never, ever imagined. While we're doing some announcements real quick, if you have a leadership journey and you believe that your story, your experience, or maybe your strategy that God gave you on how to be effective in leadership in your industry, if you feel like that's something that needs to be at a global stage and on a global platform, we are inviting you to apply today. Why don't you go ahead and become another guest on our podcast? You can go to bit.ly/TGLR podcast. We are inviting all of those who believe that God has given them something that's worth sharing to come on out, be at the virtual roundtable. Let's discuss it. You never know what God gave you may affect somebody else in a whole nother part of the world. And so don't miss that opportunity to be on the show. We are super excited actually about this next announcement because we are doing a virtual summit in September 20th through the 21st to be exact. It is the Global Leaders Virtual Summit, and go figure, the topic is going to be on global kingdom leadership. So we are going to have over 60 speakers literally from around the world that's going to be speaking, that's going to be sitting at the round table. They're going to be keynoting. We're going to have some fireside chats and everything else in between. I'm telling you, it's going to be phenomenal. Let me just testify. We've got folks from South Africa. We've got folks from Canada, London. We've got individuals from Brazil, my goodness, all over the United States that have already applied to become a speaker to share their journey and to share what God has them doing. Why don't you become a speaker too? I know it. You have something to give. You have something to offer. So go to bit.ly/, TGLR Virtual Summit now. That's our official website and home for the Global Leaders Virtual Summit. You can find all information over there, especially information on how to apply to be a speaker. And then lastly, if you want to network with other individuals who are event hosts, organizers, or if you are an event host yourself and you need speakers and you need to connect and network a little bit more and find fresh faces and voices, go and join my free Facebook group right now. It's called Need a Speaker, and we are having those individuals converge and meet and network. And guess what? People are already finding opportunities. They have come back to me and said, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the inaugural membership, the group. And I guess I shouldn't say membership because it's not paid, it's totally free. But you are going to be able to be a part of a new group. It's small now, but I believe that it is going to grow by leaps and bounds. And so get over there and join that group today. All right. Now, we're about to jump into a conversation that I think is so necessary to have. We are always happy to have individuals come to the roundtable that are willing to speak about life and living on purpose. And that's going to be today. We're going to be talking about building strong communication, purposeful living, and lasting love with none other than Nancy Zugschwert. And I'm so excited that she is going to be here to share with us. Let's officially introduce her. Today's guest is a master communicator. She is a guiding voice in helping people unlock their divine purpose. Nancy Zugschwert is a speaker, a coach, a leadership consultant known for empowering individuals and teams to build stronger communication, to discover their unique calling, and to cultivate meaningful relationships. And guys, her wisdom helps people go from wandering to walking boldly in their assignment. I've got an opportunity to kind of follow her online on social media and to kind of see her and listen in on what she's doing. And her life is a testimony of what it looks like to live and to love with purpose. Why don't you help me welcome to the virtual roundtable the phenomenal Nancy Zugschwert. Thank you so much, Miss Nancy, for being here. How are you today?
I am doing so great, Kenyon, and thank you so much for those kind words. I think a couple inches taller already today. It's great.
I'm so glad. I love words. Those who know me personally, I absolutely love words. I think that there is a power in the word. And to be honest with you, Nancy, we serve the living word, right?
We
And
do.
so, I do my best to try to, shower people with as much love and honor as I can. And just following what you do, I can tell that you are the same way.
I love the word. I love honoring him with my words as well. And I mentioned to you earlier, and I'll say it again, that it's been a joy to follow you more recently.
Thank
And
you.
I literally just yesterday in the morning quiet time with my husband, I said, listen to this message. And we
Wow.
read one of your posts together and just found real encouragement for the day. So if people are not following you on social, they definitely should.
Oh wow. Thank you so much for that. And I got an opportunity to just hear so many others, like yourself saying, hey, keep it up. Those words are really transforming me. It's I'm seeing it right in the middle of the day when I need to hear it and see it the most. And so thank you so much. That encourages me to keep pushing.
Good.
So let's jump right in. We are talking about speaking life. We're talking about living purpose today. One of my favorite things to talk about. Let's start out by doing this. Why don't you officially introduce yourself to our viewers? What part of the world are you in? What does God have you doing right now?
Such a great question. So I live in Blaine, Minnesota, and I look a little frozen here. I don't know if you can still hear me or not.
I can still hear you. I can still see you moving as well.
Okay, good. Something's a
Okay.
little wonky on my end, so I'll keep going unless you stop me.
Okay.
I live in Blaine, Minnesota, which is a suburb of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis
Okay.
and St. Paul. I'm a lifelong Minnesotan, lived here all my life, and
Nice.
I have married to my husband, Jimmy Z. We call him of 40, almost 40 years. It'll be 40 years in December. We have
Wow.
4 children, all boys. 3 are married. One is pretty serious with someone, and now we
Nice.
have 3 grandsons as well.
Nice. Nice. Oh, I think we lost Nancy. So let's pause really quick, guys. Okay, I think we are back now. Had a little bit of a snafu, but we are back with you, Nancy. Thank you so much for being back with me. And so we were talking about where God has you now, where you're living and introducing yourself to the audience, all of those things.
You bet. So, just the biographical data, I live in Blaine, Minnesota, which is a suburb of the Twin Cities. I'm a lifelong Minnesotan, have never lived anywhere but this state. And I have a wonderful husband, James Zugschwert. We call him Jimmy Z.
I
And
love
we've
that.
been married for 39 and a half years. We'll celebrate 40 years in December. We have 4 sons, all grown, 3 daughters-in-law, and 3 grandsons.
Wow.
So a lot of boy energy in our
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Kind of crazy. And then on the professional level, it's interesting. 4 years ago, this very week, I left my job as a communications director at a Christian college in Minneapolis, North Central University. I
Okay.
really felt the Lord was calling me into a new season. And in that season, He has allowed me to become what I sometimes call a wanderpreneur.
I love that.
This is like, oh, what does Nancy want to be this week? What does she want to be when she grows up? And my strong suit is communications, and so I left thinking, oh, I'll do freelance writing and maybe communication consulting. And what I really found was
Mhm.
I was sort of creating my old job, but with just a lot of different bosses and a lot more deadlines.
Yeah.
And it was something in me that said, I've been writing for a long time. I love human interaction. I love speaking. I think I'm called to do something else. And then it's been just like, okay, when you're a multi-talented person, what is it that I have that other people might pay me for? Because
Right.
as much as I love to help people, I also love to put food on my table.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey. And I would say my entrepreneurial journey has been the biggest personal development, spiritual growth program that I have ever had. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the difficulties and the challenges and the hard parts because it has brought me so much closer to the Lord.
I would actually have to agree with you on that. I came from the healthcare space in healthcare management. And so moving from that into the space that God has me in now, it has been the most humbling and interesting and stretching and growing type of season or experience, rather. And I'm glad that you said that and that you shared that, because not many people who are entrepreneurs and who are running their own businesses really give you a peek inside of the journey and the experience. And I think that's the unfortunate thing, because so many others are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, and they have no clue what it looks like, what it feels like on a day-to-day basis to wholly, I'm going old school now, to wholly lean and depend on, the voice of God. And if you don't hear anything from him on what to do, you won't be doing anything, right? You don't know where to go. And so in this, you have quite honestly found a whole new passion and love, and I guess a new facet of purpose. Can you talk about like that moment, or maybe a combination of those moments, where you begin to come into the realization, okay, I used to do this, and this was a part of my purpose, but now I'm seeing God kind of push me in this direction. How did it feel? What were you say? What was the internal conversation like?
That's such a good question. Well, for me, it has been such a battle of self doubt.
Okay.
Just really being very transparent that I was always able to succeed in what I call work reward world, where I could show
Okay.
up, figure out the parameters, know that I'm in line with my basic skills and purpose, and I did a great job.
Yeah.
My parents were proud of me when I was a kid. My teachers loved me. My bosses loved me.
Yeah.
And so suddenly I can do all kinds of work on
Yeah.
a day-to-day basis, but there's nobody telling me that I'm doing a great job. And
Yep.
if I'm not doing the right things, they don't pay me 2 weeks no matter what. So
Exactly. Exactly.
so it's been this like almost backpedaling that then I'm like, well, what and what was I good at? I don't remember. I'm
Mm,
not using my purpose. I'm not using my skills except to try to learn how to market to do a thing
yeah.
and you can get really caught up in that. So I over the past year or so really felt I wanted to lean into coaching and helping in particular midlife plus women who
Mhm.
are in these stages of transition where we're trying to figure out our roles have shifted and things have changed and I knew purpose was a part of it and very divinely at the end of last year I had an introduction to an actual tool called the purpose factor.
Nice.
it's
Okay.
it's an assessment. It's a 20-minute assessment that you can take and come up with a 48-page report to learn what your purpose is.
Wow.
And now there are other ways we'll talk about, and I had a couple mentioned in this, but this is
Sure.
this, yes, my journey. And this was a real pivotal point for me because I fell in love with this tool. And then not long after that, I found out I could actually become a licensed facilitator to use
Mm,
the tool in my coaching, in my speaking, and to share with people. And the experience I had when I received my report, the story in John about the woman at the well
okay. Yes.
where Jesus meets a woman. It's a very prophetic encounter. He tells her all kinds of things he shouldn't know about her. And
Mhm.
she runs into town and says, come meet a man who told me everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And when I received my report, I saw myself through these objective eyes, where I was doubting, like, I think I'm good at these things. Is that
Right.
really what I? And here's this report that page after page after page told me that what I thought about myself was true. And then what we believe, or what I've learned about purpose for how this is defined by the Purpose Company, which puts it out, is that our purpose is not out there.
Right.
Our purpose is in us, and God put it in us from the very beginning. And the other really important piece is when you come to realize that your purpose is not for you,
Mm,
your purpose is the best of what you have to help others. And
mhm.
then God, in his wonderful design, makes it so that when we are in our purpose, using the best of what we have to help others, that is where our fulfillment comes from.
Right.
And
Right.
so now we don't have people go like, oh, well, my purpose was raising my kids. Now, where's my purpose? I'm lost. Your purpose was never raising your kids. Your
Wow.
purpose was at play while you were raising your kids. Your purpose was in your career, but those things go away. Our kids grow up. You can lose a job overnight,
Yep.
and then we're without a purpose. No, God
Oh,
doesn't do that. He gives us a purpose that's in us, and then we get to package it and have different skin on it, so to speak, over the years.
yeah.
But you'll see the through line of your purpose throughout your life. So when I found this tool, it gave me, I think, just this boost of like confidence that I needed to not just go, well, I'm just making stuff up and telling you this and telling you that. I have a really strong like partner in my business now in this tool. And it's a springboard then to help people unlock. You use the words in your introduction to help people find their next. We're
Yes.
all of us are asking all the time, what's next? I'm
Yes.
happy where I am, but what's next? This is a good thing, but it's ending. What's next?
Yes.
When you can build that on your solid understanding of your purpose in your design, it's very, very powerful.
It's very powerful. My goodness. And not only that, but you talk about the idea of not tying your purpose to the thing that you're doing, right? Because those things are fleeting. They're here today, gone tomorrow. It's seasonal. You just never know how God is going to maneuver different things in and out of your life. But I just talked with my wife about this the other night, and it's more so of the purpose, the ability to not tie your purpose also to not just the thing, but even the outcome and the result,
Right.
right? Because like if you do that, all of these things fluctuate. They go up and down, and so if you really connect that purpose to those type of things, you're in for, I would say, a mental breakdown or mental roller coaster. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have no sense of control.
Yeah.
And when you understand your purpose, it's a basis to make decisions so differently.
Hmm.
I like to look at it. I kind of hold my hand up and say, like, this is my purpose. It's a new lens. I hold it up to the light,
Yeah.
and I'm holding up this opportunity that comes along, and I hold it up and go like, oh my goodness, I recognize that this opportunity has like five things. So you get a list. One of the elements of this report that I love is you get a
Yeah.
list of things that fulfill you and things that frustrate you.
I
And
love that.
so I could look at it and go, do you know there's like three or four things that I can see in this opportunity that are significant frustrations to me? And
Hmm.
so then I can make the decision that A, I'm either going to use my purpose to turn those into fulfillment factors and elevate the environment that I'm thinking about going into,
Hmm.
or I'll say, you know what, I don't have the energy in my life right now to literally walk into something that's going to be fighting against my purpose.
My goodness. And how many people would have better health, would have better mental health, better spiritual health, physiological health? Like, how many people would feel better? Simply just wake up feeling better if they had that, assessment that you're talking about, and they had you or, your team guiding them through this. Because I think the greatest thing that people do become frustrated with is the fact that they don't know how to implement their purpose, live out their purpose. And so it's not even just, I don't know what my purpose is. That's one big thing. But then there's people, like I've experienced at times, I know my purpose, but how does this fit in the new landscape of my world? And ensuring that you are not connecting with things that literally, naturally work against you and frustrate you. I think so many people have engaged and opted into things that they thought it was a good idea because culture said it was a good idea,
Right.
society said it was great, mom, dad, family, whomever, church said this is great, you should do this. But just because it's great according to a cultural standard doesn't necessarily mean it's for me and it's compatible to my purpose.
Amen.
I love that. I love that. So we're talking about how you are. We kind of jumped already into it. How you are beginning to help people really understand their purpose, how to live out their purpose. Um, and so I'm assuming that one of the first steps that they need to take is to really sit down and do something like this assessment, right? To really get an opportunity to understand what their purpose is in the first place and how it is compatible and not compatible to different opportunities.
Yeah, it's a really, really great starting point. And I would even suggest that there's one other step for us
Okay.
as kingdom entrepreneurs and kingdom people is to always remember that even if you weren't sure of your purpose, you can be
Mhm.
sure that you have one. In fact,
Yeah.
I pulled up Psalm 139 starting at verse 13, and it's really familiar to so many people. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I
Mhm.
praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And it goes on to talk about that our frame was not hidden from God as we were in that moment of creation. And
Mhm.
then if you jump into the New Testament, and I could just says it so beautifully in Ephesians 2, verse 10, For we are God's workmanship,
Yeah.
created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And so when you start at that point of reminder of saying, okay, yes, Lord, you saw me, you knew me, I'm not a surprise. However, you came into existence, by
Mhm.
whatever story, normal or bizarre, you're supposed to be here. And my belief is everyone is here on purpose,
Yes.
everyone is here for a purpose.
Yes.
On purpose, we just get to read this word and stand on that. For a purpose is our joy to discover it as life goes. And I think the turning point for me, Kenyon, was I had worked with someone about 3 years prior. Maybe it was even 4 years ago now, to kind of what is my purpose. She said, Nancy, what's your purpose? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in my late 50s. Am I supposed to know by now? And so she helped me craft a statement. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
this is a little exercise we did. So I came up with the statement: I live to elevate, inspire, and connect people and ideas, which is
I
a
love
great,
that.
great statement. I like it. And I can say it's relatively accurate. And I can say that when people would ask me or we talk about it, in the back of my mind, I'm going, yeah, but I made that up. I made that up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that my purpose? Am I
Yeah.
sure, Lord, is that really it? And
Right.
so what I love about having a tool like this, and it's not perfect. Every assessment you've ever taken probably has things you agree with,
Sure.
things that you don't, things that are on point. But I love it because now I feel like I have empirical evidence.
Yeah.
I was right. And then I see that, like, oh my gosh, my purpose, the way it's stated, we call it your purpose factor. My purpose factor explains to me why I was always the one organizing parties when I was a kid. It explains
Yeah.
to me how I bring people together, explains to me why I get so frustrated when bad communication takes place. All those things, it's
All those
answered
things.
in that assessment.
The purpose factor. And so you are literally you're walking people, or you're meeting people at the door of when they come into working with you, and this is one of the first things that you introduce to them, the purpose
Absolutely.
factor. I love this. Let's turn the dial just a little bit, because a part of your purpose is to be a powerful and strong communicator. And as we can already see here in this conversation, it's definitely a calling for you. Talk to us a little bit about how, and this is more specifically to those who are purposed to be communicators
Mhm.
and speakers, like yourself. Talk to us about how did you begin to um, not just find your voice, but how did you begin to hone and craft your voice to be able to be heard in such a noisy world?
Mm, wonderful question. When I teach about communication, I like to point out that everyone communicates naturally,
Yes.
but not everyone is a natural communicator.
Good.
So I would fall in the camp of someone who communicates naturally and is a natural communicator. So I
Mhm.
need to answer your question in the context. And I don't know how to describe it. And I'm not saying that, oh, I'm so amazing in every word you just hang on or
Sure.
anything like
Sure.
that. But I have a brain that's very, very busy. It is going like 100 miles an hour all the time. And,
Right.
and it's chaos inside here. But somehow God gave me this exit ramp called my mouth that like takes the craziness and then makes it sound like good. Like,
Right.
wow. I'll have people say to me all the time, it's like, oh, could you say that again? I'm like, nope. I don't know what I just said. It just came out for the first time.
I was just flowing.
I was just flowing. And I can articulate things in a way that sound like
Yes.
they've been in my mind for a very long time. And
Understood.
so I will just give you that. So my refinement process has been more like, what do I have to say? What is the value? I'm my maturity over the years. When I was young, I was a little girl who just talked all the time. I
Yeah.
would say whatever came to my mind. And I think Holy Spirit discernment and walking in biblical truth has helped me, maybe not share every idea
Sure.
that
Sure.
I have and things like that. But in general, the thing about helping another person find their voice and that process it's again kind of going back to even the scripture I read. First, we get to believe and really believe that God gave each of us a message that
Right.
needs to be shared, whether it's with one person in your life or 1,000. And a really good place to start becoming a better communicator, whether it's to 1,000 or to a few, is to really work on your ability to be a connected communicator,
Yes.
one on one. And I have a little formula. I like to think of communication. In fact, I resisted teaching communication for a long time because it came so naturally to me. I thought, I
Yes.
don't know how to tell people what I do, I just do it.
Right.
And then I had a really kind of revolutionary conversation with my husband a couple of years ago where we thought about it, and we came up with the concept that the communication is really like a recipe. You have to understand, like, what are you making? Like, I want to create a successful conflict communication encounter.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
well, what are the ingredients I need to communicate successfully when I have conflict, for example?
Mhm.
And I like to say one of the core ingredients or recipes that you need in your communication cookbook is connected communication.
Yes.
And
Okay.
there's three elements to that, or ingredients of that, if you think about it. And one, it's really a mindset. It's a mindset that says, I see you,
Hmm.
I hear you, and this is the big one we're missing right now in our culture. I share in your humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Empathy.
recognizing that everyone we encounter is a human being just like me,
Yes.
created in the image of God.
Yes.
And we've missed that third element. And
Yes.
we come to people, it's like, I see you, you look okay, I hear you, I'm listening. Oh, you said that wrong ideology. I don't agree with that. We're
Yes.
not ideologies, we're not projects, we're not um, identities, we're human.
Mm.
And
Love
I get to decide in every encounter whether I'm trying to convey that to one person I'm talking to or a room full. I am challenged as a communicator to let them know through my words, my nonverbals, my ethos, my love,
it. Yes.
that I see them, I hear them, and I share in their humanity. And that matters to me more than what they think or whether I agree with them. And I think we can bridge a whole lot of divides if we all came into our communication encounters with that recipe at play.
I think you hit on something so phenomenal, and we need to kind of just hang our hat and coat here for a moment. It's the empathy of it all, right? It's being able to, if you're going to be a great communicator, it's being able to, yes, deliver a message, yes, hear people, understand that what they're saying, but going deeper is what you just touched. It's understanding their plight, understanding where they are literally coming from. Doesn't mean you always agree,
Nope.
right? And that's not understanding, is not saying I agree. Understanding is saying I truly see and I truly hear and I truly understand. I stand under the revelation of what you're living out or what you are saying right now. Uh, but that doesn't define me. That just means I've had a revelation of where you stand,
Right.
right? And so you touched on something so great. How can we, and now this is something that I'm just kind of going to throw in here since you touched on, empathy. How can we as leaders and kingdom leaders um, begin to empathize better with one another? Because I think if we are able to mature in this area, then our speaking, our communication, our work, our purpose, all the things will be able to be heightened and elevated in effectiveness. But how do we begin to even understand and empathize with one another?
Mm-hmm. That's a really great question. And you'll see a pattern here. I like words that start with the letter C when it comes to communication.
Yeah,
You had actually said in notes to me ahead of
yeah,
time that you were curious about like advanced communication techniques. And I think this
yes,
definitely falls under that umbrella. And there's two particular skills that I think can start to do this empathy and bridge building that you're talking about.
okay,
One is curiosity.
Mm.
We adopt a mindset of curiosity over condemnation, curiosity before
Yeah.
criticism, curiosity before accusations,
Mm.
whatever it is. Where when I hear you say something that makes me go, oh, I was really liking him until he said that,
Right. Right.
I can go, I'm curious. I'm curious, what the foundation for his beliefs are about that. And
Mm-hmm.
I can even use the word to say, wow, you are so passionate about this topic we're talking
Yeah.
about. And it's pretty different than what I think, but I'm so curious. Where
Mm-hmm.
did you develop your passion to feel so strongly
Mm-hmm.
about that?
Yeah.
And I'm just being empathetic. I'm recognizing they have a passion. I'm recognizing that they have a right to have that passion. I'm acknowledging that. And I'm simply asking a question. And I'm not listening now so that I can listen for my arguments to refute it. I'm
Right.
staying in curiosity throughout the conversation.
Mm.
Ideally, whatever they say is going to lead me to another curious question. And sometimes it's through those curious questions that we actually can then at some point share our opinion. But if I put my intention on connected communication and my willingness to be curious, I set aside my ego. I come out of some
Yeah.
conversations where I know everything about what they think and why they think it, and they never ask me a single question. And I don't generally feel compelled to have to pour that into them if they
Mm.
haven't wanted to know. In fact, that actually leads me to the second element, the other skill that I love to teach, and that's what I call communication consent.
Mm.
Communication consent is basically asking permission before giving feedback,
Mm.
before, honestly, and it's not just like anytime we want to talk to someone, we always, can I have your permission to talk about this? But I say, especially when it comes to giving feedback, criticism, um, anything that feels more sensitive,
Yeah.
always get consent. And that's clearing the time, space, and place to have the conversation. Is this a good time to talk about a thing?
Yeah.
Is the space is like, do you have the mental space to hear this? And then
Yes.
the place is are we in private? You think about workplace communication and you don't want to criticize and do that in front of other people. But for me, that I think of consent as like, let's just say, I'm going to make this up. I love your shirt, by the way. I love flannel. I love plaid.
Thank
So I'm
you.
not criticizing your shirt. But what if I mean, this is just the craziest thing that, what if I said, I thought your shirt's not appropriate to wear for the podcast. Yeah, I'm going to just
Right.
make this innocuous
Right.
example here. And I could say, like, man, that's a really interesting choice to wear that shirt for your own podcast. Gosh, that's not
Right.
very professional or whatever. But maybe I'm a fashion expert and I really
Yeah.
have some opinions about what could help you be better at it, right?
Right.
So let's say I believe that my feedback is constructive. And
Right.
I might just say, hey, Kenyon, that is a really bold shirt. I said, I'm curious. I have worked with people in fashion, and I recognize that there's this nuance sometimes in what we wear and how the impact it has, like on screen or whatever. Would you be
Yes.
open to any ideas I have about a shift you could make?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah.
could be like, no, this is my signature thing. I'm never going to wear it. I'm going to be great. I asked and you didn't want it. We're going to be fine.
Right.
But I mean, but now you can see how it opened the door. And then I would be curious. I want to know some things about what you loved about it. And then if I had a suggestion, ideally to talk about a suggestion that would also be in alignment with your tastes or whatever. But um, that's a silly example, but to
Yeah.
me, my favorite picture is like when you have a conflict where two people have been at odds with each other,
Yes.
and one of them becomes willing to talk about it. We don't want a detente. I believe that every major problem in the world
Mm-hmm.
has its roots in a communication breakdown.
Yeah.
And the Hatfields and McCoys, the
I agree.
Capulets and the Montagues, Middle East, everything has some communication like that broke down, and it happened. It grew then when someone didn't address it or they didn't know how, and so the divide gets bigger and bigger. But
Yeah.
let's take a simple. Let's say it's a husband and wife. We've had a disagreement, And now we're just feeling like we are on opposite sides of the river here. Now, when you build a bridge physically,
Mm-hmm.
you need footings on both sides
Mm-hmm.
of the body of water, correct?
Correct.
And here's the problem. On my side, I own the real estate on my side.
Right.
They own the real estate on their side. So I can want to build a bridge and I could start to build a bridge, but without consent, I don't have permission to build my bridge toward their side. And
So
so
good.
for me, I think it's like saying, hey, honey, it's been a couple of days now and I still feel the air is really tense here. I'm both willing and very interested in like talking about what happened so that we can come back together the way we know we want to live.
Yes.
Are you okay with that? Are you open to that? Yeah, I really want to. Is this a good time? No, my brain's really on something else. Well, can we set a time to go out for coffee and start to talk about it? Okay,
Right.
now I put footings on their side and I can start to make my way toward building. And sometimes I may build a whole bridge, but I still had to have their permission to even get in the zone and work on that. And so I think as leaders, when we show the respect to people, to not just, barge
Absolutely.
in as a boss and say, hey, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, you were wrong, you were blah blah blah. It's simply asking consent to say, I have a message, I think it might actually be a little uncomfortable for both of us, but it's super important. Are you open to talking about that?
Yeah. I think and that's the exact word I was thinking as I'm listening to you. I said it boils down to respect. You know, it boils down to respect for humanity and the other person. Um, and also, what came to mind as you were sharing about asking the question, asking for the consent. To me, it's kind of like it's the Socratic method. Socrates was brilliant upon brilliant upon brilliant. One of his teaching methods was to ask the questions, and he had his students to ask the questions. Uh, and that is the way that led to the answers that you needed for whatever that discussion or that topic was. And so here I can find that same thing, like being able to ask, you know, are you in a place where you could receive this? Are you in a place that I could share? And you hit on something. I don't think that people realize that you're not the only one in your head dealing with, all these mental things throughout the day,
Right.
right? And so to ask the question, are you in the headspace? Are you in the mental space to have this discussion? Just shows even the more maturity that you have and love that you have and empathy, because you're not just thinking, hey, I'm the only one walking around with all of this in my mind and I just need to get it off, I just need to say it. No, you realize that the other person came into this moment with their own weight and their
Mhm.
own train of thought, and so you're acknowledging, hey, you may not be in the headspace. You may not even be in the heart space to have this discussion. And so being curious enough to see where the other person stands and understand it, and being mature enough, spiritually mature enough to ask for consent, I think is two of the most brilliant concepts and strategies I've heard. And I'm going to be honest with you, since we started the inception of this podcast. Um, where are we now? And this is just off the top of my head. Where are we now in at the global level? Would you say? And then even at a national level, considering America, where are we now with communication? Um, and where do you see us in the future? Let's say the next 5 years. How do you see the landscape of our relationships, at a global level and at a national level? Is it promising, would you say?
Wow. That's a
I know
big,
that's such a big question, but it just came to me as we're talking.
well, it's a good one. It's a good one. And I'll tell you, I would say in my lifetime, and I'm 61 years old, so I,
Okay.
I don't care if people know how old I am.
Okay.
Uh, it's, I would say we're close to an all-time low that I've ever witnessed.
Hmm.
Um, the basic, now this is interesting, and it really depends on where you are. So at least the rooms that I am rarely in a room that seems to reflect the rhetoric of the public. Social
Okay.
media, even how people talk on TV news shows, the way
Hmm.
people talk about each other out there. I still don't, and again, I'm grateful. I'm very intentionally surround myself with. I'm a church girl, so I'm in church a lot.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of reasons probably that I'm not as exposed. I also work from home, so all those things. But it's disastrous in many realms.
Mm.
Where I really just like my gut, I almost get sick to my stomach is when I watch clips of hearings on Capitol Hill. I am mortified
Hmm.
by
You and me both.
rhetoric that comes out of our elected leaders toward each other
Yep.
and toward people that are brought in as witnesses.
Yep.
And I think it's sad to me because I'm like, how on earth do we teach our children respect and honor of authority and all these things when it's gone to such a degraded level?
Yeah.
So I would say, left to its own devices, I don't know how it would go. Now, I believe the lower we go, the greater we have a chance and readiness for revival. I
Hmm.
think God is bringing people back to church. I think there's a lot of things. I think the church is highly responsible for a lot of the horrible rhetoric that a lot of church people don't have control over their tongues. In James, it tells us the tongue is the hardest thing to tame, right?
Yeah.
So I want to take it back to the individual level. And one of the things that I love to just remind people is that, and I like going into an organization to teach some basic communication things. When you have one person making a decision that I'm going to be a connected communicator, we've ignited what I call the power of one.
Okay.
And then when that person so influences another person to go like, hey, this was a really good conversation. It feels different than the other conversations I've had. I want to start doing this more too. Then you have the power of two or the magic of two. And then when those people go to their team and start to maybe influence their whole team, which then starts to be set apart in the organization, and other people are noticing, you guys are really, something's happening here. Then I call it the unstoppable many.
Wow.
And for me, the hope lies in an individual maybe hearing a conversation like this today and going like, you know what? I really got to change my rhetoric. I've got to start speaking with more curiosity. I need to
Yes.
start seeing people that I view as enemies as just other humans who think and feel differently than I do, but we
Right.
share humanity and they are also made in the image of God. And when we, especially as kingdom entrepreneurs, model that and lead that and create organizations that do that, and then we treat vendors better, and then our vendors feel better, it's that ripple
Right.
effect.
That ripple. Yeah.
That's where the hope lies. I don't know how we can collectively hold our leaders to greater accountability in communication. It is definitely feels like a snowball that's just picked up momentum that I
Hmm.
don't know the possibility or probability of it, but I know that I am responsible for the person in the mirror and what I bring into the room each day. And if each of us does that, we still can make a difference.
We still can. I totally agree with you, Nancy. I will say one of the things that Holy Spirit has been speaking with me on has been pushing back the darkness, if you will, um, by, let me say it this way. Whenever you want to, this is what I've taught in the past, whenever you want to break a unhealthy cycle, you've got to replace it with a God cycle. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And so I think one of the things for me personally, and everyone, we're talking about purpose here. So everyone has their own purpose and their own thing to contribute to the answer and solution. But I think what God has been speaking to me on since a child in different ways and coming up to now is really providing new media, new content, new things that will kind of push back against the darkness, and becoming um, impactful enough to be able to contend with the dark.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I
Um,
totally know. Interesting story. I've been gone a little dormant. I don't do a lot of TikTok creation now, but
yeah.
when I started my entrepreneurship journey in 2021, one of my first mentors was a social media marketing person who said, "Get on
Yes.
TikTok, get on TikTok." Well, I
Yes.
didn't know what I was selling yet, but I got on TikTok and somehow I got over like 4,800 followers. So
I love
I
that.
did something that enough people thought, oh, she's like a cute old grandma or something. I don't know, but I would do silly things and some serious, just but I was inconsistent. But the very first time I opened that medium, TikTok doesn't know you, so it just feeds you whatever, right? And I was like mortified.
Hmm.
There were young girls who were saying, "This is what my T-shirt looks like wet," or whatever it was. I
Yep.
was like,
All type of things.
and I
Yeah.
immediately said, I don't want people to have to come through that medium to see me and get my services, right? And my very next thought, which I totally believe is from the Lord,
Hmm.
was, oh, you're going to let the devil have this medium too.
Hmm.
And I remember as a student of I was a communications major in college, and I didn't study this from the Christian perspective, but over time I came to realize that, for instance, in the early part of last century, when technologies like television and radio, not so much radio wasn't resisted as much as television and the movies were
Yeah.
by the church. The church said, that's of the devil. That's not, we're not going to have anything to do with that. And guess what? Guess who owns Hollywood?
Oh yeah.
It's like, had the church had the foresight to recognize the power of the medium, you doing something like this, recognizing this tool and using it for kingdom work. My husband and I are kind of late to the game, but we've been watching The Chosen, that more
Yes.
and more, I think there's finally good Christian filmmaking out there, but it took a century for us to get there. And so, do we need to be discerning? Yes. There's things I get to close my eyes to. I don't want to see. I don't like that for you to come find me on Facebook. You will maybe get, other stuff that isn't good, or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we should stop.
Yeah.
If you use the analogy, one of my favorite visuals I have for this is you have a thick black cup of coffee, right?
Yep.
And it's not going to change its form. Just if you pour more coffee in it, it's going to be coffee. The only way to make it change is to start putting clear water into it. And if you
Yeah.
keep pouring clear water into a cup of coffee, it's eventually going to be clear water. And
Yeah.
so we get to be, those of us who create content, as believers, we get to be a piece of clear content. We get to be the one like Kenyon who encourages people in the middle of the day to just keep going, to step
Right.
into your God ordained purpose, or Nancy to have a communication nugget that's going to make somebody go like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, and to not, like you're teaching and saying, to not stay silent, that we
Yes.
share what the Holy Spirit is birthing in us out loud, and let go of what people think about us. I don't care. I look goofy.
Right. Of course.
I've shown up on social media with my little turban and no makeup on. I'm like, whatever. Once you cross a line, you're like, I don't
Yeah, for
I
sure. I love this conversation, and those who are watching, I know that this has been fulfilling for you too. I know it. I just know it because I'm feeling it and sensing it. And I could really sit, Nancy, and talk with you for a while because I think what you're doing is so necessary, helping us to be able to communicate better and helping us to be able to lock in on what that purpose is for our life, then communicating it to the world in a way that is palatable and easy to be received from the very ears that are ordained for our voice. I love what you're doing. I'm going to invite you to come back for sure because we've got so much more to discuss and so much more to talk about. Nancy, how can people stay connected with you? I know that there may be some things coming up in the near future with you and your husband. And we didn't even, oh my gosh, we didn't even get on your marriage and how you have lasted so long. Why don't you kind of weave that in a little bit here, but tell people how they can connect with you, your husband, what you guys are getting ready to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, my website is really easy. It's nancyz.com. So you can find me there. On socials, I'm usually Nancy Z Unlimited. It's the name of my business. So you can find me there. And that'll kind of keep you on top of what we've got going on. The things I'm most excited about right now, of course, my work. I love working with people on purpose. I work in organizations that want to create a purpose culture. I work with individuals who are at that point of exploring what's next, of course, and always open to speaking engagements. And my husband and I are actually very excited. So for our 40th anniversary this year, we have decided that one of the best ways we could give gratitude to God for the gift he's given us in marriage is to share it with others and help other people.
Yeah.
And so, with my skills in purpose and communication, Jim is also an expert in mentors. He's written a book on mentorship and sales. We got some business topics. We're working on putting together some very exciting marriage retreats that will be likely in person, some like local, and then we're going to have some destination by the end of the year for our 40th. We want to create a destination marriage retreat. To sew into probably about a dozen couples and
That's
really
amazing.
create an experience. So that's what's in the works for us. So if you want to follow us on socials as those things emerge, you'll be the first to know then.
Yes, and information on how to connect with Nancy and stay connected will be in the description section below this video, guys. So make sure that you are connecting with her and her husband and all the things that they are doing, both individually and collectively. I love the work. You got to get the information to us. For my wife and I, we would love to come be a part of one of those retreats and just be poured into. That would be amazing. Nancy, hang tight. I'm going to wrap things up because we have come down to the end of our episode here. For those of you who have been listening and watching, I told you this was going to be a necessary and a purpose-filled conversation, and it did not disappoint. I really believe there are just certain people that I talk to that I know within my spirit that we're going to be seeing a lot of them, on the platform that God has given me to kind of birth and evolve and grow. And Nancy Zugschwert, and even perhaps her husband, they will be here back to share just all the things that God has given them. Such a sweet spirit. Thank you so much, Nancy, for being here and for the great work that you are doing with communicators, with people locking in on their purpose and really living it out on purpose. I love that. I love what you guys are coming up with as far as the spiritual retreats for couples and all of the things. So, guys, make sure you stay connected to her. Listen, and if you want to stay connected to this platform, all you got to do is just go join our channel over there on YouTube. Subscribe today at TGLR Network. We've got great content just like this. And we have a vision. It's a pretty big vision. I'm not going to unfold it right now. Maybe one day I'll do a separate live just to share my heart and the vision that God has given me and my wife as this thing evolves. But just know there's so much more in store and so much more that is coming that you want to be a part of. And so join us there. You could join me as well on across all social media platforms, as well as just my name, Kenyon R. Dudley, and you could stay connected there. Listen, for those of you who want to be a speaker for our virtual summit, please, please, please go to bit.ly /virtual summit now, TGLR virtual summit now, and apply to be a speaker today. Or if you just want to be a part of it, you just want to attend it, right? It's absolutely free to attend. We just released that information and no price to you. You could just register for free at bit.ly /TGLR register. And you can go ahead and get your virtual tickets. As many as you'd like. We have people who are actually signing up their entire groups, their teams, all of that, to be a part of this, to hear these speakers from around the world. You don't want to miss it. Be a part of it. Go register today, bit.ly/TGLR register. And we look forward to having you as a guest, a part of that. All right, guys, make sure that until next time, you lead boldly and live well. I'm your host, Kenyon R. Dudley. This has been the Global Leaders Roundtable Fireside Chat Edition. Till next time.